We are going to go deep into our hearts and minds today to confront something uncomfortable but necessary: anger at life. At different points in our lives, events unfold that leave us frustrated, disappointed, betrayed, or even furious. We feel that life has been unfair. We feel misunderstood. We feel wronged. And when those emotions accumulate, anger becomes our shield and our prison. But here is a truth that Stoic philosophy has repeated for centuries. Anger is not a permanent condition of the soul. It is a reaction, a temporary disturbance, a judgment. We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. This distinction changes everything. Most people believe that anger is caused by external events. Someone insulted us. Someone betrayed us. Someone treated us unjustly. Something didn't go according to plan. But Stoicism teaches that the insult, betrayal, or setback is not the root of suffering. The suffering comes from the meaning we assign to it. You can choose not to be hurt, and you won't feel hurt. Don't feel hurt, and you haven't been hurt. This does not mean pretending pain does not exist. It means understanding that interpretation is optional. Anger often masquerades as strength. It feels powerful. It feels righteous. It feels like control. But in reality, anger is loss of control. It is a short-lived madness that convinces us we are justified while quietly weakening our judgment. An angry man speaks loudly and shuts his eyes. When we become angry, we stop seeking truth and start defending ego. We stop observing reality and start protecting identity. We shout, exaggerate, rehearse arguments in our heads, and replay offenses over and over again. We tell ourselves that our anger is justified because we were wronged. But being loud does not make us right. Storms of anger do not solve problems. They only create new damage, often inside us first. Anger is like acid. It damages the container it's held in more than the object it's poured on. You lose 60 seconds of peace for every minute you remain angry. And here lies the paradox. The person we hate may sleep peacefully while we burn internally. Stoicism does not tell us to suppress anger. It tells us to examine it. If you are angry, know that you are angry. Once you become aware of it, you are already less controlled by it. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates clarity. Indifference, in the Stoic sense, is not emotional numbness. It is the refusal to let anger dictate action. Someone cannot hurt you unless you allow them to. You are hurt the moment you decide you are hurt. That idea is uncomfortable because it shifts responsibility back to us. It removes the comfort of blaming others for our emotional state. No one else is responsible for how you feel. This does not excuse wrongdoing. It does not deny injustice. It simply restores agency. When we act from anger, we are doomed to fail because we are reacting, not responding. Reaction is impulsive. Response is deliberate. It is easy for anyone to become angry, but to become angry at the right person, for the right reason, at the right time, and in the right way, that is not easy. Most anger is not about justice. It is about wounded pride. We cling to anger because letting go would require us to confront the sadness beneath it. Anger is often a guardian for grief, a shield for vulnerability. But holding on to anger keeps us chained to the past. You cannot love in the present if you are angry about the past. And perhaps the most brutal truth of all, you are defeated by whoever makes you angry. One's master is anyone who can provoke them. If someone can trigger your rage at will, they control you. Stoicism offers another path. Delay, count to 4. When very angry, count to 100. Silence is the best response when anger rises. Delay weakens the emotional surge. Most disagreements feel urgent in the moment, but trivial afterward. Most conflicts are unavoidable when they happen, but irrelevant in hindsight. So why sacrifice inner peace for something that won't matter next week? Instead of asking, how do I stop anger from happening? Stoicism asks a better question. How do I handle anger when it does arise? The answer lies in discipline, awareness, and self-control. Anger reduces reason. Anger distorts perception. Anger magnifies small irritations into large injustices. Anger convinces us we are strong, when in fact it exposes weakness. Being angry does not make you powerful. It makes you reactive. A strong person knows when to use force and when to step back and smile. Instead of criticizing what you hate, support what you love. Instead of shouting, wait. Instead of seeking revenge, choose dignity. Hurting your enemy lowers you below them. Getting revenge puts you on the same level. Forgiving them puts you above them. This is not weakness, it is self-mastery, and perhaps the deepest Stoic insight of all. Anger is not required. Many things in life may trigger it, but what matters is how you handle it. You can choose not to answer. You can choose not to react. You can choose composure. When anger rises, focus on your breath. Adopt the pace of nature. It takes time for storms to pass, but they always do. You are made of something stronger and more sacred than the emotional waves that pull at you like a puppet. Fill your life with love, and anger loses oxygen. We all have dark thoughts, but we do not have to act on them. Garbage is useless to hold on to. Wise people let it go. Fools cling to it. When you master your anger, you master your life. If anger enslaves us emotionally, the need for validation enslaves us socially. Many people believe they are free, yet their mood rises and falls, based entirely on other people's opinions. A compliment energizes them. A criticism crushes them. A lack of recognition makes them doubt their worth. This is not freedom. It is dependency. Epictetus began his teachings with what is now called the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Our thoughts, judgments, intentions, and actions are up to us. Reputation, praise, criticism, social approval are not. The tragedy of modern life is that we reverse this order. We neglect what is within our control and obsess over what is not. We try to manage perception instead of character. We try to manage applause instead of virtue. And so we suffer. When we seek validation from the outside world, we build our identity on unstable ground. External approval is volatile. It fluctuates with trends, moods, biases, and circumstances. If your peace depends on it, your peace will always be fragile. Marcus Aurelius describes something profoundly powerful: the inner citadel. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. The inner citadel is the fortress of your mind. It is the place where judgment resides. It is the only territory that cannot be invaded without your consent. But here is the crucial point. When you crave validation, you abandon the citadel voluntarily. You open the gates. You hand others the authority to define you. Freedom in Stoicism does not mean doing whatever you want. It means not being governed by what is not yours to control. William Irvine, in his modern interpretation of Stoicism, argues that the Stoics saw emotional independence as psychological armor, not indifference to human connection, but indifference to social approval. The difference is subtle but decisive. Humans are social beings. The Stoics did not advocate isolation. They advocated internal sovereignty. There is a profound distinction between listening to feedback, depending on validation. Stoic discernment allows you to evaluate opinions rationally. You ask, is this criticism true? Is there something here I can improve? If yes, you adjust. If no, you discard. You do not internalize every judgment, you filter it. This is not arrogance, it is clarity. The need for validation often disguises itself as humility, but in truth, it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of exclusion, fear of standing alone. Social conformity offers comfort. It reduces friction. It protects us from immediate criticism, but it demands authenticity as payment. Stoicism asks a different question. What is worse, criticism from others, or betrayal of yourself? When we act against our principles to gain approval, we fracture internally. We may be accepted socially, but we lose self-respect. And without self-respect, no external applause can fill the void. Stoicism asks a different question. What is worse, criticism from others, or betrayal of yourself? When we act against our principles to gain approval, we fracture internally. We may be accepted socially, but we lose self-respect, and without self-respect, no external applause can fill the void. Donald Robertson, who links Stoicism with modern cognitive behavioral therapy, explains that much of our distress comes from mind reading, the assumption that others are constantly judging us. Stoic training breaks this illusion by reminding us that other people's thoughts are outside our jurisdiction. You are not responsible for managing other people's opinions. You are responsible for managing your own character. Authenticity, therefore, is not rebellion for its own sake. It is alignment between values and action. A Stoic does not ignore society. A Stoic refuses to be ruled by it. Vincent van Gogh is often cited not merely as an artist, but as an example of radical indifference to public opinion. During his lifetime, he faced ridicule and neglect. His art was dismissed, yet he persisted. Not because he was immune to pain, but because his commitment to his vision outweighed his need for approval. This is Stoic courage. Indifference to validation does not mean indifference to growth. It means growth guided by internal standards rather than external applause. There is a line often attributed to Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. If someone criticizes you and you feel shattered, the damage is not in their words. It is in your estimation of their authority. When you stop granting others that authority, their power dissolves. Freedom emerges, and with freedom comes authenticity. When you no longer perform for approval, you begin to act from conviction. When you no longer fear exclusion, you speak honestly. When you no longer obsess over reputation, you cultivate integrity. Integrity is what remains when applause fades. Massimo Pigliucci, a contemporary Stoic scholar, emphasizes that Stoicism is not about suppressing individuality. It is about aligning individuality with virtue rather than vanity. The difference is profound. Vanity asks, "How am I perceived?" Virtue asks, "Am I acting rightly?" When you anchor yourself in virtue, validation becomes optional. This does not eliminate pain. Humans will still feel rejection. But Stoicism provides tools to prevent rejection from defining identity. Indifference protects the self without isolating it. You can engage fully with the world, collaborate, love, contribute, while remaining internally stable. This is the balance. Involvement without dependency. And once you experience this freedom, something shifts permanently. You no longer measure your worth by likes, praise, promotions, or public recognition. You measure it by discipline, courage, justice, and wisdom. Your peace becomes portable. Your stability becomes self-generated. And the world, with all its noise and opinions, loses its power to dictate your state of mind. If anger enslaves us emotionally, and validation enslaves us socially, then irrational judgment enslaves us intellectually. The Stoics believed that the core of human suffering is not emotion itself, but unexamined judgment. Seneca, in his work on anger, described anger as a temporary madness. He did not treat it as a natural necessity, but as a failure of reasoning. According to Seneca, anger begins as a small impression, a thought, an interpretation, and if we give that impression our assent, it grows into rage. This idea is critical. For the Stoics, between stimulus and response, there is a moment, a space where judgment is formed. That space determines everything. Epictetus stated, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But reaction is not automatic. It is chosen. Modern neuroscience supports this ancient insight. What psychologists call the amygdala hijack occurs when emotional centers in the brain override rational thinking. In moments of anger, fear, or humiliation, the rational cortex temporarily shuts down. We act before we think. We speak before we reflect. We regret afterward. The Stoic solution is simple, but not easy. Pause. The pause is power. When you delay your reaction, even by a few seconds, you weaken the emotional surge. You reclaim authority from impulse. You create space for reason to return. This is why Stoics recommended practices like counting before speaking, observing breath, journaling reactions, mentally rehearsing difficult situations in advance. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal what later became Meditations, not because he was weak, but because he was training his mind. He was constantly reminding himself that external events have no inherent moral weight. Only his response does. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. This line is often quoted, but rarely understood. When someone insults you and you respond with rage, you mirror their weakness. When someone behaves unjustly and you retaliate emotionally, you surrender your moral high ground. But when you remain composed, you preserve clarity, and clarity is strength. Emotional discipline does not eliminate feeling, it refines it. The Stoics did not aim to become emotionless. They aimed to become emotionally intelligent, long before the term existed. Emotional intelligence, as described by modern psychologist Daniel Goleman, involves self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and deliberate action. Stoicism trained all for self-awareness, recognizing anger as it arises. Self-regulation, refusing to act impulsively. Empathy, understanding that others act from ignorance, fear, or pain. Deliberate action, choosing virtue over reaction. When someone wrongs you, Stoicism invites you to ask, what judgment am I making right now? Are you telling yourself, this is unfair, I have been disrespected, I must defend myself? Or are you able to say, this is unpleasant, but not catastrophic? Their behavior reflects their character, not mine. I control my response. The difference between these interpretations determines whether you escalate conflict or transcend it. Rational judgment is not weakness, it is restraint, and restraint is strength. When you act in anger, you often sacrifice long-term benefit for short-term emotional release. Angry decisions tend to be immediate and dramatic, but rarely wise. You may win the argument and lose the relationship. You may defend your pride and damage your future. Stoicism teaches that long-term clarity outweighs short-term intensity. There is a reason Seneca warned that anger is self-destructive. It burns the one who carries it. But the Stoics also understood something deeper. We often cling to anger because it gives us identity. If we are angry, we feel justified. If we are resentful, we feel morally superior. If we are outraged, we feel powerful. So where does this leave us? We began by confronting anger. We saw that anger is not a permanent state, but a judgment. We explored indifference, not as apathy, but as disciplined awareness. We examined freedom from validation, the reclaiming of inner authority. We learned that rational judgment creates emotional resilience. And now the path becomes clear. Life will continue to present insults, disappointments, setbacks, betrayals, misunderstandings, and loss. You cannot eliminate them, but you can eliminate their power over you. You can choose not to be hurt. You can choose not to be enslaved by praise. You can choose to pause before reacting. You can choose clarity over chaos. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Time is limited. Why waste it in anger? You lose peace every minute you stay angry. You surrender control every time you react impulsively. You weaken yourself every time you depend on approval. But you strengthen yourself every time you pause. Every time you respond instead of react. Every time you release resentment. Every time you choose virtue over ego." Stoicism is not about suppressing life. It is about mastering it. It is about living in such a way that no external storm can uproot your inner stability. In the end, you are not defined by what happens to you.